Friends, here's the video I've been promising you. Today we are going to put two of the best American knife brands up against each other in a Stockman knife shootout. Now I selected the Stockman pattern knife for this challenge due to it's the knife I grew up with. And it is the style knife that I carved this bear with when I was 10, 11 years old. The Stockman knife is a very useful style or pattern of knife, and it gives you a lot of options in order to do all this kind of detail work. So the traditional Stockman knife, well, it comes with a clip point blade. That's the main blade. It's a great versatile blade. It can be used as for skinning or everyday chores, but also comes with a sheep's foot, and that's what gives you the detail work. It's got a really strong point to it, and very versatile. Also the spade blade. Now the spade blade, that's why they call it a Stockman knife, because it was designed to castrate livestock without piercing the sack there, you know. But no livestock was harmed in this video. We're just talking about carving bears and doing stuff like that. But before we get started, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with any of your friends who might like similar knife content. I'd really appreciate that. Alright, so I got two targets set up in the range here. We got 5 bullets, one for each of the 5 different categories we're going to judge these knives. Alright, appearance, fit and finish, build and design, performance, and ergonomics. So each knife gets one shot, and the winner gets the bullseye, right? Alright, so start out with the Buck 303 Cadet. I got this knife for about $55 at Ace Hardware. Alright, comes in this kind of normal little yellow box. Knife isn't wrapped in anything, but there is some paperwork in here. What's this? Oh, it's the a message from the Buck family that usually comes with just about every knife Buck sells. So not a whole lot of bling there. And not a real fancy knife. It's a handsome knife, but you know, it has the Valix handle. You can also get the rosewood handle with brass bolsters. Well, that's $70. So that's quite a bit more. Now the case knife comes in a little nicer box. It's labeled Harvest Orange Bone Peach Seed Jigged Medium Stockman. It's got the born on date on here, a 3/2024, so fairly new knife. It's got price tags on here, paid $65.99 for this knife from Shepherd Hills. So it's kind of right there in between the base 303 Cadet and the Rosewood 303 Cadet. Comes with a little bit more paperwork. Usually comes with a card like this that talks about new knife patterns and whatever else they got for sale at the time that they produce the knife. And the knife usually comes wrapped in one of these tissue papers that don't seem to last much longer than unwrapping the knife. But I like to fold those up, stick them back in the box, and hang on to them for if I ever go to sell or trade the knife, I still have all that in there. So yeah, the case is a pretty knife, isn't it? Alright, so appearance. We got to do the competition between the two, so let's line them both up. And it doesn't take much to see that case is a prettier knife. Like I said, the Buck is it's a handsome pocket knife, but the case is a lot prettier. And also you can see both these knives are pretty much the same. They're 3 1/4 inches long, so they are pretty comparable blades. That's why I picked these medium Stockmans. Alright, but back to the appearance shootout. That case has those brass liners on the back, bone handles, polished blades versus the satin finish on the Buck. More polish on the bolsters. It's hard to say. That case is just a better looking knife. And Case gets the first shot for appearance. Good job, Case. Alright, so let's move on to fit and finish. How do these manufacturers do putting these knives together and the quality of their production? So, I don't really see any gaps. We didn't have any blade play in either knife. And everything looked good on the inside. We got polished blades on the case, so that takes a little extra fit and finish to do that. Everything felt a little smoother on the case, no sharp corners compared to the rigid corners on the buck. A little less hot spots. Walk and talk on the buck was a little stiff, a little gritty. Not bad now, don't get me wrong. But when I pulled out the case and compared it, I just liked the feel of the case much better. It was silkier, sexier, smoother. They did a really good job on the walk and talk on this knife. That, and also just the overall appearance, even something simple as a shield being nice and polished where you can read it, versus the buck where you can barely see the insignia in there. Alright, case gets another hit. Good win for fit and finish. Let's move on to build and design. Takes the next shot here. Alright, so the case gets a demerit here because look at that sheep's foot. See how it sticks up high like that? It's not flush with the other blades. Alright, that's just a design there. See how it sticks up higher? You might feel that in your pocket. You might feel that as a hot spot pressing against your leg. So it gets a demerit for there. And if we line up these two blades together, we'll see why that is. Because look how these blades are angled in the case versus how they're all in line in the buck. And that's because the case only uses 2 back springs for its blades versus 3 on the buck. See how these 2 blades here share the same spring? And both blades have to be canted in there in order to fit in that same space inside that knife. Now both knives are about the same width, so it's not like they saved any width on the knife by doing it this way. They just used 2 springs instead of 3. So see what happens here? Look how that canted blade on that sheep's foot, how it's not straight and parallel with the clip point. See how it leans over there towards it? Alright, and then we also have the little spay blade, or in this case the pin blade. It's canted as well. It has to be, because when they close, they have to clear each other. And usually they do hit each other, and you'll see a mark there. That's why you see those marks. Not the buck. The buck uses 3 springs, and all the blades are all perfectly parallel inside the chassis there. So, no chance of them hitting each other. And I think it's a little bit more rigid design. A little stronger. And what's nice is when you hold the knife, and it might matter to you, it might not, but the blade is sticking straight out. See how they're all parallel of each other? I think this is a stronger design. I think this is more of a Sherman tank versus the Porsche of the case, Also, check out the little shield here on the case. It's just glued in there. But on the buck, see that little hammer shield right there? Well, that is actually part of this. Let me turn it sideways here. See that steel liner right there? Well, that emblem is part of it. It's all one piece, and that black Valix handle, well, it slides over it, where the case is just glued in. Good job, Buck, with that great design and solid build on a 303 Cadet. Won you a hit that you needed. So let's move on to performance. So we got two different clip point blades. Both of them are 2.5 inches long. They're about the same thickness material. They're both 420 HC, even though they call them different. They're both from the same kind of alloy. Now Buck uses a hollow grind on there. See how it's kind of concave towards this, from the spine towards the tip. So that gives you a real thin behind the edge, where the case is a full flat grind, which is a little stronger behind the edge. But the Buck is going to be, I think, in my opinion, a little bit better for carving and whittling. And the case is going to be a little bit better for average chores, a little bit stronger. Here's the sheep's foot. Check them out. The Buck has a 1 3/4 inch, and the case has a 1 5/8. There's a nail nick. There's that hollow grind. There's your full flat grind on the case. A little rounded tip on the case. You know, I don't know. I'm favoring the Buck on the sheep's foot. I think it's got a little bit more precision look to it than the case. That case is just a little rounded, but the case is probably a little stronger behind the point. Check it out. Alright, spay blades. Well, neither one really has what we call a traditional spay blade, so the cows should be happy about that. Case has this pin. The Buck has this modified spay, but it's got a little bit more point than a normal spay. It does have it will puncture. But, you know, hollow grind, flat grind. Yeah, that's the difference between the two. So let's see how sharp they are. Start with the Buck. Will it cut? Yeah, it'll cut. Definitely not a lightsaber like I'd like it to be. But it's cutting right out of the box. That's more than we can say about case lately. Now, this test is only showing the sharpness quality of them out of the box. I mean, both blades will get razor sharp if you take them and reprofile them like most people do that are serious about their edge. So let's check out the case. The case uses that True Sharp surgical stainless. And this one just is not gonna cut. This is pathetic. Man, it don't even sound good. I don't feel a burr. It actually feels sharp. But once again, we got a case knife that's going to have to be reprofiled right out of the box. Look at that. Even plunge cut, it doesn't cut worth a damn. And another hit for Buck on performance. Neck and neck now. Alright, the final bullet, Ergonomics. Let's check out how these knives fit in the hand. Now the case, I really like the way they make the choil. See how this is all smooth and contoured? Everything feels good. There's not a single hot spot there. Now the Buck is going to get a couple demerits because this thing's got angles going on and hot spots all over the place. Let me show you. Look, you got a hot spot. The back of that blade is sharp. The bolster, the blade is not smooth. I mean, it's like they almost got it, but it's definitely not the case. Look at the case again. See, that's perfectly smooth. There's not a single hard corner there. Also, let's take a look at them close. See how the blade on the case versus the Buck? The case is rounded and lower and hides down in the chassis more than the Buck. See that sharp edge? There is no buffing on that at all. It is sharp as it was when it was stamped. That grabs your finger. That's going to grab your pocket. That's a hot spot. You know, I know it's closed, but those are still there when you open the knife. You're still going to have those hot spots on the blade you're not using. You know, even on these bolsters here, you know, nobody's spending any time on the buffalo mill really smoothing those out. People talk about the fit and finish on the case knives. Well, all those sharp angles have to be buffed off. And, well, that's what Case does really well. Not only do they spend the time and round everything, because these didn't come out, these weren't stamped this way. They had to be buffed out and rounded, and that all takes manual labor by hand to do all that. So the case just feels much better in the hand. Everything's nice and smooth. Like I said, when you got a company that's been making knives for over 100 years, they get it right. This is just what you don't see on the other brands. And, well, Case gets that final shot to win the Stockman Shootout. Good job, Case. But this doesn't say anything against the Buck 303 Cadet. They're both great knives. I'd say the Buck 303 is more something for hard use, and the Case is a little bit better for carrying in your pocket around town. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. And I hope you stay safe out there.